And then I will count us in. The intro scene is selected. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for September 26, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the PS5 Pro 30th Anniversary Edition is a lie, Ubisoft is falling apart, and the Nintendo Museum has Virtual Boy merch. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jan Ochoa, everybody. Jan, how are you doing?
I'm a little thrown off by this energy, Grubb. I'm not going to lie.
No, I don't blame you. I'm also not sure where it's coming from. Well, I know where it's coming from. It's all Sony's fault. Tried to get in that queue. Tried to get a PS5 Pro 30th Anniversary Edition. Okay. 12,300 PS5 Pros.
Yes.
Worldwide. They will probably go on to sell around 115 million PS5s. So is the math right that is 1% of 1% of the total number of PS5s that will be sold this generation? Chat, you can correct me on that, but I think that's right.
Rob, this implies that I'm good at math, and I'm just not one of those people.
I did. My mom found an old like standardized test thing, and I was in the 99th percentile for math concepts, and then I was in like the 30th percentile for math procedures. It's like, he gets math, he just can't do it. I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be useless in my life. Turns out I was right about that. Yeah, that was messed up. Yeah, but that's dumb. That's dumb that there's 12,300 PS5 Pros.
Yeah,
for 30th Anniversary Edition.
I swear that on this very show, we talked about how Sony was trying to combat scalpers for the PS5 Pro a couple months ago. I swear I'm not making this up. I swear this was a story we covered. So what do? They announced the PS5 Pro. No one is interested because it looks the same. It's just got like an Adidas stripe on it. And then they announced the 30th anniversary. We're all goo goo gaga for it. We all love the color gray. It turns out we like colors on our face buttons, and they only make 12,000 of them.
That's right. And that
primed
that
for
is
scalping.
That is 1% of 1%. So, a very tiny number. Apparently one person in chat got it.
Yep. Shouts out to Scrub McGrub in the Giant Bomb chat.
Yeah, I guess shouts out to you. I'm not jealous. They're turning us against one another, all right? I'm actually angry at you, and I don't want to be angry at you, but it's PlayStation's fault. I don't know. I could just get a Pro and put my own faceplates on there and do what I want, because I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to have that as the collector's edition. But the reality is, I just want it because I like the way it looks. Like, I actually want the thing for me, and I could do that on my own.
We should like find someone that's good at like painting and have them do it for us.
We should get an airbrush guy. We should probably have an airbrush guy.
Oh my God, yes. Why haven't we had an airbrush guy?
I don't know.
You know, yesterday during the Grub Bag, we were looking into bounce house rentals, and it turns out very cheap, very affordable. I think we should just throw a carnival.
Oh yeah, that's actually the best idea right there. Throw a Giant Bomb carnival. The Giant Bomb Gaming Carnival, and there's almost no games, just lots of bounce houses.
Just lots of bounce houses. There's a dunk tank where you can pay $20 to throw a ball at Dan to get him to dunk him in the tank. We're gonna sell out so fast.
All right. So I'm coming with this energy. So let's just get this out of the way too. It was asked on Giant Bomb's YouTube channel. Bonus question: is gray a color? 88% said yes. 12% said no. And I think the confusion here is that technically people consider black to not be a color because it is by definition the absence of all colors. Now, that is also like if someone says, "What's your favorite color?" and they say black, and you're like, if you say that's not a color, that's a silly thing to say as well, because in most of our lives, whenever you see black, it definitely has some color in it. You've almost never seen true black ever in your entire life. Maybe if you went in a cave, I guess, and had no light in there, that was true black. But outside of that, like anything that has clothes, any clothes that has black on it has color in it. For example, this is the energy, Jan. This is the energy today. if you go to RGB color slider tool and you're like, hey, gray's not a color, that's just a shade between black and white. Well, here I've added 131 red, 131 green, and 131 blue.
PlayStation, this is your fault.
It's your fault.
This is your fault, Mark Cerny.
And what color is that? It's fucking gray. There you go. We're not going to GameSpot today, so I can feel okay about saying the F word. Yeah, hey, there it is. We did it, everybody. I see it. That's gray. That's a color.
I judge my colors based off what is available in the standard pack of 24 Crayola crayons.
That's right. And there's a gray in there and a black in there and a white. There's actually a pretty decent explanation from Waves of Babies in the comments here if anyone wants to go and read that. Obviously, there's going to be still some argument about like how accurate some of these explanations are, but I found this to be pretty satisfactory.
All right, listen here, you dumb piece of shit.
Oh, there he
Black
is.
and white are in different ways the absence of color. White is every color, black is no light, therefore no color. So if you just mix the two and you get gray, it's not a color.
Yeah, but you don't have to just mix black and white to get gray. For example, you can mix 131 red,
equal
131
parts.
Green, 131 blue, and
which
you get
is
gray.
the same thing as everything or nothing.
Well,
Sean, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, what's your color?
You
Blue?
know,
Is it blue?
I like blue more often, but tasteful pink, you know? You sneak it in there.
I
It's good
see.
stuff. Here's the most woke color, Jan.
You're insecure about your color choices, which is why you have to take down mine. I get it. I see what's happening here. All right, I can...
Boring asshole.
Let's mute here. Server mute. All right, let's go. Let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, and we do. Actually, there's quite a bit to get into, so let's get into it with the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom review roundup. This is from Land Pitts at GameSpot. Nintendo's The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom releases now. It's actually out now, where players can play as the titular character for the first time in the main series. Reviews have started to come out. It has an 86 on OpenCritic and a lot of like reviews in that range. For example, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. This is Tom Marks, who says The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is far more than some second-tier spinoff, combining the expertly crafted dungeons and item progression you'd expect from a 2D Zelda with the wild creativity provided by Tears of the Kingdom. Comic Book gave it a 4.5 out of 5. Whether you're a longtime Zelda fan or someone newer to the series, Echoes of Wisdom is a bold step forward for the 2D entries in the franchise. It took decades for Zelda to have a great game to call her own, but the result is worth celebrating. Nintendo Life gave it a 9 out of 10 and says it is easily in contention with A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds as one of the best top-down adventures in the series. I muted myself there a little bit. Screen Rant gave it a 4.5. Even with the overabundance of options and even considering the technical limitations and simplicity mentioned above in the review, it's hard not to play Echoes of Wisdom and think, this is what I've been waiting for. That's from Christopher Tootin. And then finally, VG247 gave it a 4 out of 5 and says, really, Echoes of Wisdom feels like the perfect sign-off for the Switch, with new hardware reportedly on the horizon. It's a colorful, accessible epic that pushes its console to the limit with all of the mechanical depth and invention, artistic design, whimsy, and spirit of adventure that you'd expect from a first-party Nintendo adventure. So, sounding very promising. What do you think?
I'm very excited. I wasn't originally, it's exciting to get a new Zelda game in at all, and to see the positive buzz coming outside of PAX when y'all got the chance to play it. Tam became the Lord of Spiders. I want to become the Lord of Tables, perhaps.
I think that is a viable option. I'm going to solve most of the puzzles with like just stacking stuff on top of one another.
Yeah, this is very exciting. It's great. Another banger from Nintendo, and I'm kicking the dirt because I didn't get to choose this in Fantasy Critic.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good result there in Fantasy Critic, 86 out of 100 there. I was excited about this. People comparing it to A Link Between Worlds. It's like, oh, that's a high bar for me. A Link Between Worlds is so good. Obviously, A Link to the Past is a canon entry in the video game oeuvre, but it's Link Between Worlds is one where it's like, man, that kind of came out of nowhere and was so amazing and so good. And if this can even kind of get close to that for me, I'm going to be very happy. Going to start it today at some point. Maybe we'll even start it on the website. We'll find some time.
Yeah.
That'll be a good time. But yeah, I do think this positioning this as, hey, this is a send-off for the Switch. Also probably a good way of looking at it, because it's like, hey, we got the two big major Zeldas. We did get a Link's Awakening remake, and now this. And so we got kind of 4 awesome Zelda games on the Switch. What a way to kind of start the system and then to send it off. And now you can look forward to whatever they're going to do next with the series, which now feels like it could be anything. I think there was some worry that people thought, is it just going to kind of keep being the Breath of the Wild style? And they're definitely going to keep doing that. But now having this Grezzo team, and who knows, maybe some other team possibly working on top-down Zeldas or some variation on that idea, that's pretty exciting to me as a Zelda fan. What do you think?
I do like the possibility, Grubb, of within like this victory lap in between sunsetting the original Switch and revealing the Switch 2, that maybe Nintendo's going to be a little bit lax with some of their IP and lending it out to some studios that they trust. It looks like Grezzo hit it out of the park with Echoes of Wisdom. I'd be interested to see what other projects they could possibly be trusted with in the future. Maybe we get a Tingle game, Grubb.
Yeah, hey, I would take a new Tingle game, of course.
I would also like Nintendo to take another stab, and I know it'd be asking them to do an online game, but I would genuinely like to see them take another stab at a Four Swords adventure type of game.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they have learned a lot and could apply that to making a game that is maybe a bit more, not friendly, but just like forces cooperation a little bit better than their games have so far.
Yeah. Maybe we could be the coerced compadres instead of the connectivity compadres, you know?
Yeah, there we go. I would take it. All right, let's get into this, and this being Ubisoft, sort of just everything's not going their way right now. Assassin's Creed Shadows delayed until early 2025. We didn't mention this at the end of the show yesterday, but a lot of fallout from all this. This is Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Earlier this week, Ubisoft canceled a press event for Assassin's Creed Shadows with little explanation. Now, Ubisoft has made the announcement that the latest Assassin's Creed game has been delayed from its November release. Instead, Assassin's Creed Shadows will now arrive on February 14th, 2025, so Valentine's Day, the most romantic day to release a game. Ubisoft's Marc-Alexis Cote, the vice president, executive producer of the Assassin's Creed franchise, but basically said, he made the announcement on social media that Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed to give the developers more time to polish the game. Existing pre-orders will be refunded. Wildly. Following the news, Ubisoft made a formal announcement to the company's investors that Assassin's Creed Shadows is feature complete, but the recent response to Star Wars Outlaws convinced the developer to use the additional time to enable the biggest entry in the franchise to fully deliver on its ambitions. Star Wars Outlaws also launched with much softer sales than Ubisoft expected. We'll get into that in a second. So yeah, what's your initial knee-jerk reaction to this? Like, man, the kind of a last-minute delay. Are they worried about like just bugs, and they're trying to get the perception to be as good as possible from the start? Kind of something that Star Wars Outlaws suffered from.
The whole thing is worrying, Grubb. I can't pinpoint any worry on one particular thing, because you could blame it on, let's try and fix bugs. Maybe the scope of this game is bigger than they originally anticipated, so they do want to rein that in. Definitely, I think a factor to think about is Star Wars Outlaws reception kind of being a little bit muted. But we were talking about this yesterday, that the general reception for a Ubisoft game lately in the last couple of years is to, all right, it came out, let's wait till it goes on sale. And I think Ubisoft, Star Wars Outlaws really highlights a gigantic problem in Ubisoft not really knowing how to market a game well. Because you think a Star Wars game is another knockout of the park. You're going to appeal to those Star Wars fans that don't have that fatigue of the series yet. Maybe you can appeal to those people that really enjoy other Ubisoft IP, but it just didn't hit with them for a myriad of reasons. I'm definitely worried about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Grubb, I have a wrinkle of a story I'd like to share from Gamescom. Bailey Myers, our dear friend, had an appointment to go see Assassin's Creed Shadows at Gamescom. I was able to tag along with her, and both of us were expecting, maybe we're going to see a gameplay demo. Maybe they're going to show us a neat vertical slice. And for 20 minutes, Grubb, this was under embargo until September 11th, actually. It was a 20-minute presentation about wind.
Huh?
Wind. And how they were very proud of the wind
like
in the game.
Like the force of nature wind?
No. Yeah, well, yes, wind in the game, and how well and how cool it's going to work in Assassin's Creed Shadows. And they felt the need to embargo that.
They embargoed that. Okay.
Yes.
Huh.
Now,
Yes.
Grubb, I understand, and we've been to several gaming events, and people have the understanding that there are sometimes for other outlets, other individuals, bigger demos, more in-depth demos that go behind closed doors. But at Gamescom, Ubisoft's whole booth was very Japan-esque themed. So I was assuming that Assassin's Creed Shadows would make a big part of their presentation and what they were showing off. We just got a presentation about the wind.
You just got the wind, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think a couple things are happening here. I think there is, for one, these games are bigger than ever, and they've always been big. And by big, I mean the number of people and studios required to actually build them. So they're expensive. So there's a lot on the line with each one of these. At the same time, I think they feel cheaper than ever to people who consume games. I think there is this sense that they're expected, they're taken for granted, and that has led to a certain not like snobbery, but a childlike, just a poor reaction to these games focused on almost always the most inflammatory stuff. A woman, a black person in Japan, and so like these people they feel something about this, so that's all the noise I hear about it, and it's hard for anyone to get excited about anything else because it's so standard and just what we expected from the beginning.
Yeah, it's the same fatigue that a lot of the general audience has received from like the MCU, Star Wars, even like Lord of the Rings to an extent, where it's like, it's more of this. Okay, cool. And this is a problem that like Ubisoft and a lot of other big publishers have really found themselves in. They've dug this hole, and they've been stuck in it for a bit. But I was genuinely excited for Assassin's Creed Shadows because it seemed like it was kind of like going back to a little bit more stealth with at least one of the characters. But yeah, Grubb, it's just if you are not in tune and you're kind of just like generally following the game, you will see or you will smell more of the stink from like the poopy parts of the internet. Right.
And it's like who then is going to run to the defense of most Ubisoft games? Now, people are like, no, those are the games I pick up for $40 in a sale. And and then you have the other problem, and this is something they're addressing. They're actually addressing a lot of these problems. They might be addressing more than they're even saying, but where the game's not on Steam. So there's some people like, I'll wait for sale, but then like they see it's not on Steam. So it doesn't even register for them to like, I'm going to wait for the Steam sale for that game. They're like, no, that game doesn't exist to me. So I'm just I'm not even going to be thinking about that. And the budget that I dedicate to picking up games when they go on sale will go to something else. It's not even in that pile, which is a bad place like for a game like this to be. It's an even worse place for this game to be. It's bad to be in the pile of we're waiting for the sale. But like it's actually for a lot of people not even in that yet. So
I think they're also in a worse position now, Grubb, to announce the delay and put it into 2025 after Sony's State of Play, where they announced Ghost of Yotei. Well, and not that they're going to be the same game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think both games can coexist for sure, but we're talking about a February that is busy even beyond Ghost of Yotei, which we don't know exactly when it's coming out in 2025. But February, we'll have Avowed, Civ 7, Monster Hunter Wilds, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And that's just getting us started. Like we are in September. We're in September. So there will probably be one or two more delays that have games going into February, and then games that haven't been announced yet. Now, many of these are the biggest ones. They will take up most of the oxygen, but it's turning into a bloodbath. So Yeah, it's a tough situation, and they're not like really buying themselves a lot of wiggle room here. They're just kind of buying themselves some time to make the game itself better, which clearly after Star Wars Outlaws, they do know how important that is. I hope. Star Wars Outlaws, a good game that was definitely brought down by bad first impressions for a lot of people. I think where the instant fail stealth missions or something that's like, man, why does this just feel so punishing? I'm not having fun. Well, they mostly have they've gotten rid of some of that, and they're going to continue improving that. In fact, we have more to say on Star Wars Outlaws. Let's jump to that because there's a whole big Ubisoft story here that includes this as well. Star Wars Outlaws sales were worse than expected, and Ubisoft admits that they were worse than they were expected. But it says it is fully mobilized to fix it. That being the game. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Ubisoft has confirmed that Star Wars Outlaws was not the success that it hoped it would be. The company said the game's initial sales proved softer than expected. Ubisoft did not, however, provide a specific sales figure for the game or reveal what its targets were in the first place. In response to the lower than expected sales and player feedback, Ubisoft said its teams are now fully mobilized to swiftly implement a series of updates to polish and improve the player experience ahead of the holidays. Ubisoft said it hopes Star Wars Outlaws could be a strong long-term performer for them. They are going to try to relaunch this game through the holidays, especially because now they don't have Assassin's Creed Shadows. So a lot of that, not a lot, but some of that marketing budget is now going to go back towards Star Wars Outlaws, which they are going to release new DLC for in November. And at the same time, they're going to release it on Steam on November 21st. So this feels like a second launch for the game. And so I think they are trying to speed towards that and let's get as many updates and improvements as we can between now and then. And that's tough, but it does feel like the word of mouth is changing a little bit about on this game in the moment. I was like yesterday, I'm like, I like this game. I think it's good. And I think it will be fondly remembered, which is something I said before. I'm like, but now I really believe it's going to be more fondly remembered as time goes on. And that tweet did really well, way better than I was like, this is just me firing off a fart of a thought, whatever. And there was a huge response to that. And I think that this game could be primed to take advantage of some of this, but who knows, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to say, Grubb. I mean, even that portion of a mission you played yesterday was enough to convince me to check it back out and seeing your positive sentiment about the game. But talking about this game demoing very poorly, you were 100% right. My opinion was colored coming out of Gamescom, where I was not interested in this game at all. But talking with friends that really enjoy Star Wars, a lot of them have wound up really sinking their teeth into Star Wars Outlaws because of just existing within that Star Wars world. And
the crew over to a more civilized age are all playing it, and they're all really enjoying it.
It's this just highlights a lot of problems going on at Ubisoft. And I don't know exactly who they're trying to point the fingers at internally, which is a definite problem. And it feels like the devs of the game have definitely done their job. I just don't know the people above them if they're done what they have needed to do to necessarily support the game. Also, this God, Grubb, do you remember the outrage that came out about the special edition of this game that had a specific Jabba the Hutt
mission?
Yeah. So I don't know if that colored opinions from the jump.
I think it's all chicken and the egg. Where it's okay, there's these things that people will pick up on that make them mad, but is that what is making them mad, or is there something about Ubisoft that makes them mad, and then they are now looking for things to express that anger? And I think whatever is happening there, Ubisoft needs to fix. And now that is that's manifesting in the stock price, which Ubisoft share prices have now dropped to its lowest in nearly 11 years. Obviously, this is due to low performance of Star Wars Outlaws and the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows, but both those things come from a place of Ubisoft has lost the gamers. It's just not been able to keep them sort of enchanted and keep their attention and start asking for their money. Here's a game, give us $70. Most people are not down with that with Ubisoft games at the moment. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Ubisoft's share price has now dropped to its lowest point in nearly 11 years. The company's share price was €11.40 when the market closed on Wednesday, but opened today at €9.76. At the time of writing, it's currently at €9.27, but has dropped as low as €9.19 at one point today. The last time Ubisoft's share price was so low was back in, was so low, not Han Solo, was back in November 2013, when it briefly dipped to €9.27 before beginning a steady climb that saw it reaching a high of €102.95 in July 2018. So this has led to like, okay, the stock price is now has dipped so hard and is so far away from its recent highs in the last 5, 6, 7 years that maybe it's time to like look at everything going on at Ubisoft. And that is the next story. Ubisoft's board is launching a review of the company. This is from My Nintendo News. Ubisoft is not in a good state right now. They have been dealing with multiple games that have been repeatedly delayed, including some that have been slated to release on the Nintendo Switch. And when games do release, they keep underperforming. The company's stock has also been gradually falling over the course of the summer, so it's not surprising that efforts are underway to turn that around. It has been confirmed in a Ubisoft financial statement and update that the company's executive committee and board of directors will be launching a review aimed at further improving our execution, notably in this player-centric approach and accelerating our strategic path towards a higher performing model to benefit our stakeholders and shareholders. I feel like this is the beginning of the end for old boy Yves, is what this really kind of begins to sound like.
I don't want to say and come for anyone's head, but I feel like that should have happened years ago at this point.
I mean, there's a number of reasons why it should have happened years ago, including the toxic culture there that seemingly he defended and protected and enshrined. And when that came to light, he said, well, I'll fix it. And it never felt like it was like that was handled super well. And he was kind of a guilty party in that, not guilty of maybe some of the actual toxic behavior, but protecting some of the toxic people. Something should have happened then. It didn't. And now here we are on the other side of it, where you stuck with these people, and to what end? To have the lowest stock price in more than a decade. That's the combination there of like, well, we have this excuse. There was this toxic work environment, and I say excuse for the people who are investors who don't actually care about the human beings. Like, we have this excuse, so we have cause on top of here's the stock's not performing, and that's what we really care about. So it's time to maybe think about a different future for Ubisoft. The problem is, it is such a massive, unwieldy company with so many studios in so many different places. Who's going to want to come in and try to like slim this down, clear it up? Can you have a slimmed down Ubisoft that could still produce Assassin's Creed games as fast as it needs to? I don't know.
I don't know, Grubb. Like, I just scanned through the Wikipedia, Ubisoft's wiki, and you're right. It is an insane amount of support studios all across the world, all trying to churn out an Assassin's Creed game or supporting whatever game. Yet you look at the release calendar for even the rest of this year for Ubisoft, and Star Wars Outlaws is it. Since they delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the other releases from this year from Ubisoft, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, good game. X Defiant is still exists. Skull and Bones, and Beyond Good and Evil, the 20th anniversary edition. What are they doing? What else are they doing? Like, if it's not all hands on deck to make Assassin's Creed Shadows, and even with all of those studios, you still have to delay it. I don't understand what's happening. It just seems like, on top of all of the issues we're talking about, all of these games underperforming, that happen to be good games, like Prince of Persia: Lost Crown, it's probably a lock for the Giant Bomb top 10.
I would think
if we're being honest here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit with the bigger general audience for miscellaneous reasons. It underperforms. Same thing with Star Wars Outlaws. So it is a poor mismanagement of the whole goddamn company across the board.
Yeah, and if I'm like you, hey, okay, what do we do here? I mean, obviously, improving the quality of the games isn't an easy thing to say, and that's seems to be the first point of order here, although they've said this a bunch of times over the years. Obviously, there's been multiple times now where a game underperformed, and they're like, we are delaying everything. We're delaying everything. Like, there was that one year where it's like, everything from this year's moving to next year because one of the Ghost Recon games or something underperformed. And then they did that again, and now it feels like this is kind of a third strike here, where it's like, what happened to those previous attempts to improve the quality of your games? what did you implement that you forgot to do this time? And I think the reality is, it's just like the number one rule at Ubisoft is get these big games out. We have these big franchises, just get them out at a regular interval. And that used to be once a year. We recognize that needs to be extended now. And now it's like, well, then it's once every year and a half for Assassin's Creed. It's like, okay, wait, that doesn't seem like enough time, actually. Not much has changed. So if someone does go in there and they start to change things up, it seems like there is no real good answer, because the solution to not making enough money probably is get some of these popular franchises back up and running, and that means more Far Cry, more Ghost Recon, more Assassin's Creed. And okay, yeah, but the problem has been you've put out so many of those that now people don't feel anything when they get one, and it's just sort of noise, and it's easy for people to ignore. And then when it's not easy for people to ignore, it's because they're getting mad at you for some random thing. And a lot of times it's crazy DEI people or anti-DEI people who are just losing their minds and being complete weirdos. But that is also an issue that you need to recognize, that why is this the only thing that's engendering any sort of excitement about your games is you have something I can get mad about. It's a puzzle that I don't know how they're going to solve. And I think maybe taking a breath, being willing to kind of scrape by for a few years with a low stock price and slowly build it back up into something that feels sustainable is maybe the solution. But investors are not going to want to hear that.
No, investors don't want to hear that. They're looking to take someone to the guillotine, and if not, it's one person. It's going to be, unfortunately, like whole studios shuttering down in the efforts to save money or turn profit. And it stinks. Grubb, like I felt like this with Ubisoft not being able to like nail an easy shot with the second Mario and Rabbids game. Sparks of Hope was the second one, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And any type of Mario game, new Mario game, should be a slam dunk, but somehow Ubisoft didn't nail it, and it kind of just fell flat. Yeah,
I mean, I think like Nintendo themselves told Ubisoft, it's like, this kind of game we do once per generation. If we were you, we would have saved this for the Switch too. And Ubisoft's like, well, we need it now. And it's like, that kind of illustrates all the problems, right? Where it's like they don't think deeply about the audience. They just are like, well, you ate this up last time. Here's more of that. And it's kind of like my kids with food, right? I find a new food that they like, and boy, do I get excited, Jan. I'm like, here it is. We cracked the nut. This one has lettuce and tomato on it, and they're eating it. We're gonna have this every night. And by day 4, not only do they not like it anymore, they kind of hate it. And it's like, oh man, I boned that up. And I think gamers are kind of the same way. The gaming audience is kind of the same way. Like you gave them 25 Assassin's Creed games, they kind of hate it now. And whose fault is that? I mean, it's everybody's, but mostly Ubisoft. So figure it out.
Most definitely. And I think it's just so interesting, Grubb, when you go and ask a lot of people what their favorite Assassin's Creed was, it feels bad inside that a lot of my friends, or at least my first answer, is Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which was however many years ago, Grubb.
Yeah, I was not married. I was dating Stephanie at the time. That's a long time ago. Yep.
I was in high school, I think.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Long time ago. Let's think. I was going to say the wind in Star Wars Outlaws. Pretty good. There's a whole wind planet. That's one of the biomes. They like capture wind with these big kites, and they're like wind farmers. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good biome for Star Wars. Sean was in middle school. Okay. Easy, crazy. All right. Let's see here. Let's take a break. When we get back, talk about the Nintendo Museum and a lot more right after this. All right, we're back, and I wish I was at the Nintendo Museum, which seems very, very cool. I'll read kind of a quick summary here of what Ezra Crabb at IGN wrote about it. The Nintendo Museum is light on history, but big on fun. The Nintendo Museum in Kyoto, Japan offers a unique and interactive experience that celebrates the company's 135-year history. Visitors can explore various exhibits featuring Nintendo consoles, games, and peripherals, as well as interactive activities inspired by past Nintendo products. While the museum lacks in-depth explanations and never-before-seen artifacts, its clever displays, nostalgic atmosphere, and playful experiences make it an enjoyable destination for Nintendo fans. And that seems to be kind of like, I think when we saw the video, Jam, we're like, that's kind of what we thought, where it's like, it doesn't look like here is something from Miyamoto's office, and here's why it's important, and here's how it inspired such and such game. It's not that kind of museum. Instead, it is sort of like a statement, right? It is a thesis statement about Nintendo, where it's like, these are the kinds of ideas that are important to Nintendo, the kinds of play that's important to Nintendo. And we think that enshrining like that feeling and those kinds of emotions you get when you do experience these kinds of things is a way more informative about what Nintendo is than a history lesson. Now, of course, I want both. I do want both. But Miyamoto himself's out there saying, like, I want every future Nintendo employee to like come here and understand that this is what we're about. And like, it almost sounds like he's going to make it mandatory for new Nintendo employees to go to the Nintendo Museum and play with the giant Wiimote. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get that. And to me, it's like, this does sound like a Nintendo kind of museum. What do you think?
Definitely. It seems like the ethos behind it is very different than your regular museum.
Yeah.
But I think I'm all about it because it does match up with Nintendo's way of approaching things, where we want to show you the different components that have really made and mattered to this company versus the hard historical facts. Like, we're going to have a portion of this gift shop dedicated to the Virtual Boy. Are we going to explain why we wanted to do this or what it was for, who the target audience was? Absolutely not. But you can buy a sick Virtual Boy's shirt or whatever, and it's right next to the Wii U. Was the Wii U like a flop? Maybe. We don't care. We love that thing. Miyamoto still, I bet you, in like the last 2-3 years, Grubb, Miyamoto has dug out his Wii U and taken a bath with it.
Almost certainly. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. A lot of cool merch there. I wish they had bath plushies, because that's been a big thing with my kids now. It's like they like the plushies that are that dry quickly. You can actually take in the bath, and that's been a fun time. I'm like, I want a Wiimote version of that, a Wii U I could take in the bath. But what everyone's very happy about is Miyamoto was cooking about AI. Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto talks AI. He says Nintendo wants to go in a different direction. This is from Eddie McCoo at GameSpot. Nintendo visionary Shigeru Miyamoto has commented on the company's stance regarding artificial intelligence, saying the Mario Maker aims to go in a different direction. Speaking to the New York Times, Miyamoto said Nintendo is often perceived as a company that bucks trends and does its own thing only for the sake of it. But that isn't true. It's an intentional effort to be different, Miyamoto said. And the same thinking applies for AI. Whereas plenty of companies are adopting and embracing it, Nintendo may not. Miyamoto said Nintendo's ambition is, quote, trying to find what makes Nintendo special. He added, there is a lot of talk about AI, for example. When that happens, everyone starts to go in the same direction. But that is where Nintendo would rather go in a different direction. Earlier this year, Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa explained that AI could be used in a creative way, but there were also issues with intellectual property rights to deal with. Generative AI, which is becoming a big topic recently, can be used in creative ways, but we recognize that it may also raise issues with IP rights. I think this is exactly where you want to hear Nintendo to be, having Miyamoto fully like aware and understand, like sort of very sober about it, being like, yeah, I've seen this before, and nothing's different here. This is not some thing that is going to change the way we do things. We have the way that works, which has been the Nintendo way. And when someone presents us, hey, here's AI, maybe you should use it, we're going to look at it and be like, well, if everyone else is going to use it, then that can't be the Nintendo way. We have to be different. And I think it's worked so far. Why would they abandon it now?
Yeah, it's a way of thinking and working that has definitely worked out for them. Their batting average isn't perfect, Grubb, but like it has definitely worked, and they've been able to sustain themselves by bucking the trend. So why not keep going that way? Also, I feel like the concept of AI does take away from whatever magic or like handcrafted touch that Nintendo really does like with, their bigger products. Like Miyamoto never ran across AI when he was catching bugs as a child. So that's it's never going to get incorporated.
Exactly. And I do think that this is how Miyamoto really feels, and Miyamoto, very important in Nintendo, does have a high position. He sort of does have like this chief creative officer position to a certain extent. Now, if AI was something that could be incorporated, they probably would from like the Shintaro Furukawa side of things. But I bet his lawyers said, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. And Nintendo listens to his lawyers. And then Miyamoto came along and was like, I don't want anything to do with that shit. We're going to do different stuff because that's what we always do. And I think everyone at Nintendo's like, okay, lawyers said we can't. Miyamoto wants to do something different. Therefore, wash our hands of it. We're going to go be Nintendo over here. It's a combination of factors, obviously. But I do think Miyamoto seeing this stuff is like, no, thank you. I don't want that.
Yeah. Also, I feel like there's some earnestness to Nintendo where like they believe in hard work and effort. Yeah. And using AI as like an easy tool removes from any of that. And also, Grubb, I give it 4 or 5 years, and then Nintendo will be talking about AI just because they relate to everything.
Yep. Lexi says, I got my 30th anniversary stuff while working a business showcase. Seems like a skill issue. I had it when I started the show. I could have bought all that stuff except for PS5 Pro 30th anniversary edition. I almost did buy some stuff, but
grow up, Lexi.
Jan talked me out of it. All right. Disappointing Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 finally getting big 2.0 patch to make things right on PC. This is from Ethan Gotch at Kotaku. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 was a cool idea that didn't live up to its promise when it arrived in August 2023. Missing features, adding frustrating bugs, and lacking upgrades across certain platforms made it feel like a lackluster port. Konami is trying to make good on that commitment a year later, however, with a 2.0 update that improves a lot, at least on PC. The patch will be out on PC first, arriving alongside a trading card and a badge for the Metal Gear collection on Steam. The release for other platforms will follow at a later date. A big addition for Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty on PC is the ability to finally customize the resolution in the settings menu. There are also new optional upscaling techniques that should improve the sharpness of the game at various points. The in-game movies can also be swapped to a clearer image or keep the original look. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is getting similar new options, including adjustable controller schemes and alternate keyboard layouts. The further upscaling techniques that can be applied seem to make a decent difference, letting players take advantage of their hardware to boost the visual crispness. This is the kind of thing where I was like, oh yeah, this is why I didn't play these games right away. Or when they first came out, is people mentioned the PC version did have some resolution issues, and I'm like, well, I think it was like, oh, I'll play it on Steam Deck, but then I'm like, oh no, I want to stream it, so it kind of went back and forth. And now recently I've been like, I should get into that, and I know Kayla, Dan's sister, has been playing it. I'm like, maybe when she's done, I'll start streaming it as well and see if we can carry the torch a little bit. And this is a good of an excuse as any to actually finally do that. People are reporting pretty good things from this. Did you ever get around to checking out the Master Collection Volume 1?
No, I think, Grubb, for the same reasons where I had heard that it was a little bit troubled upon launch, and I didn't want to taint my view of Metal Gear at all, so I just wound up playing Metal Gear Solid 5 instead.
Yeah, that's a good choice too. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a real good time. Speaking of Metal Gear, new Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater trailer has everything except for a release date. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Because it was included in Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, the events of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater may still be fresh in the minds of fans who revisited the franchise in 2023. That's why it feels a lot like deja vu to see the betrayal of Naked Snake play out all over again in the upcoming remake, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which had a new trailer debut at the Tokyo Game Show. There's not much, if any, gameplay in the new trailer. Instead, it focuses on the first mission of the game as Naked Snake, the future big boss, goes behind the Iron Curtain to retrieve a Russian scientist named Sokolov. In the lore of the game, Sokolov is the creator of the Shagohod, a nuclear tank that is the forerunner of every Metal Gear that came after it. Basically, new trailer, looks pretty good. A lot of fans are pretty happy with it, but still no date. I mean, now they also aren't saying it's coming next year. Like, there's no date at all. And it feels like this game was, at least at one point, they mentioned 2024. That is seeming less and less likely every time we get something like this, right?
Definitely. I thought this would have been the perfect opportunity, Grubb, to finally slap a date on, or even
if it was next year, right? Even if the date's next year, like it's weird.
This just feels like Konami fuckery of like, we don't know. The answer that's the normal answer popping up in my head, Grubb, is they want to get out of the way of one of their other releases, with Silent Hill 2 coming out soon.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 is out in like 2 weeks.
So perhaps that is a reason why they want to get out of their own way with one of their other things that they're releasing. It still doesn't make sense to me, Grubb, to at least not slap on a date, even if they are just going to say next year.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to forecast the release calendar themselves, and now seeing that something like Assassin's Creed Shadows got pushed out into February, maybe they now want to stay far away from February. I just hope that this winds up not getting lost in the shuffle of like next year that winds up having a gigantic amount of releases already. So, whoever got the keys at Konami, just drop it on like Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah. Lexi jokes that maybe they'll announce the date at the Kojima live stream during Tokyo Game Show. Or maybe they'll counter program. They'll be like, come over here and watch this instead. Here's the date for Metal Gear Solid Delta. That seems like it'd be a bad move for Konami. Don't do that. You get some fans mad at you.
Don't step on the rakes if you can avoid them.
Yeah, avoid the rakes where possible. I still hope this game comes out this year. Again, mostly because Dan has it as a counter pick in Fantasy Critic, and it'll be bad if it came out next year, because then he'll just get 0 points, and I need him to get negative points because he's got too many big games. Doesn't seem likely though. I think if we get deep into October, especially if Silent Hill 2 comes out and they still haven't said anything, we'll probably know then. That's like, okay, that's 2025 for sure.
Yeah. Unless Grubb, Silent Hill 2 ties in to Metal Gear Solid Delta.
There it is. It's all one universe. Yeah.
One universe.
Yeah. And they announced the new Castlevania at the same time, and it's also in the same universe. And then they have a Konami Smash Brothers game. Yeah. I can't wait. Xbox Tokyo Game Show 2024 broadcast happened overnight. This is from Ryan Dinsdale at IGN. Just a couple of things to pick out here. There was, of course, the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater trailer was in there. That was like one of the big things from that. That's where we actually saw that. Then My Hero Academia is coming to Overwatch 2. Okay, the collaboration arrives October 17th. So that's something. Age of Mythology Retold is getting a new expansion, Immortal Pillars. Let's see, it's an expansion for simulation game Age of Mythology Retold was announced, called Immortal Pillars. It will take players through the myths of China with an all-new pantheon of gods, powers, and more. StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 are both coming to Game Pass, and there was a new Indiana Jones and the Great Circle trailer. Let me actually go over there right now, since that's video over. Yeah, and this looks pretty good as well, of course. Where are you at with your excitement for Indiana Jones?
Grubb, as someone that isn't really a fan of the movies,
right?
I'm happy for my friends.
You're happy. I'm happy.
Excited.
Yes. Okay.
I'm happy that Troy Baker is working. He's busy. That's great. Always down to punch a Nazi in the fucking face.
Yeah.
I advocate for doing that.
Did you ever play the Wolfenstein games? The machine?
I love them.
Okay.
They're great. So that lends to some excitement where it's like, oh, I like this dev. Let's see what they can do. I think for me, I personally would have liked the third person game, but that's completely fine.
Sure.
That's just taste differing. I really hope this game is good, just for Xbox's sake this year.
Yeah, I'm right there.
One of the things that got announced during the Xbox TGS stream is Threads of Time. I'm very excited for this. A press email I got says a spiritual successor to Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger.
Oh, really?
So let's go, baby.
Let's see. I want to take a look at this.
Looks very pretty. It's like nails the 2.5D RPG style.
Oh, yeah.
Very gorge.
Yeah, some of the initial art here from the cutscene is, very anime, very Chrono Trigger to a certain extent. Yeah, that's good looking stuff. Let's see if I get
This looks good, unlike, and I hope I click with this rather than Sea of Stars. And I apologize to the Sea of Stars fans out there. It still doesn't mesh with me.
Yeah. Oh, this is very HD 2D as well in its presentation here, which I still love. I know some people are getting sick of it, but oh, that looks really. Oh, that kind of reminds me of God, what's the Game Boy Golden Sun, the sort of panning camera in the combat. That was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, seeing the panning camera is mighty tasty.
That looked awesome. The cyberpunk timeline. Okay, yeah, I'm into this. Threads of Time is what that is. Yeah, there was a bunch of other stuff. It was hard to pick out like what would be worthy talking about on the show, but there was all showcases up now. Check it out. Yeah, what is on the screen right now is Threads of Time. This is the game Jam was just talking about.
It's also going to be available on Steam, folks. So don't trip chocolate chip.
Yeah, it'll be everywhere. All right. Let's see here. Our poll question. Let me get that up for everybody. Not the is gray a color poll question. I have the other one right here. Grade the state of play. I'm going to hit B, and then we'll bring it up for everybody right there. All right. Grading the state of play. 5% gave it an A. 6% gave it an F. So on the extremes, everyone's like, we're all kind of in the middle. So the next highest grade was a D with 12%. Then 33% gave it a B. And most people, well, the bulk of people were in the 43% zone in a C. So yeah, everyone's kind of in that B and C zone, which is like, yeah, when you get a big game like Ghost of Yotei, I think that is going to help out and push most people over into like, well, at least there was that big new thing, big new sequel to that game I loved. I can't complain to a certain extent. That seems to be where most people are at. How about you?
Yeah, I wound up voting in the poll like a solid C.
Yeah.
Nothing absolutely terrible in the stream, but not enough to wow me to give it that B or A rating. I hate the sentiment, Grubb. Okay. Also, for folks that missed it, I got hands-on time with the PS5 Pro last week, and that video is out on GameSpot now. Jordan Ramey and I shared our impressions. Grubb, I don't want to alarm you.
Yeah.
I think I might want to play Horizon.
You okay?
I know. I don't want to worry anyone. And I know that like we've all stood tall and together on this, but I think I might want to check out Horizon. That game. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty. When I saw that trailer of Horizon Zero Dawn remake, remaster, whatever it is, I'm like, yeah, why don't I like these more? And it's not, I definitely don't, it's not a dislike. And it's not even like, I'm not having fun. I'm just not having enough fun often enough. I just bounce off them. I guess they occasionally, like, there's sections that I find boring and they go on. And I fall off and I want to stop playing. That's happened both with Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. So, but when I see them in action, I'm like, God, these games look so pretty and so cool. And I like the characters and I like the art and aesthetic and the setting. And I seem to think I would like the story. So what's going wrong here? And it's just when I play, I'm not having enough fun. But I'm kind of with you in that I want to give it yet another chance. Like I think there's always the possibility that this time it really clicks.
Yeah, maybe this time it's going to click. Seeing it run on the PS5 Pro, it was very impressive. It started to look like one of those games that's a fake game for a TV show, just because of how nice everything was performing. I don't know, Grubb. You know what I think is part of the reason why it has bounced off of you and I so much is because for some stupid reason, Grubb, they decide to release it at the same time of another game that is not quite similar, but similar enough that I lose all interest in checking out Horizon.
Yes, that definitely happened with Horizon Zero Dawn, with Breath of the Wild. And then, what game came out with Horizon Forbidden West?
Oh, God, there was another big title.
Was it Elden Ring? Oh, boy.
It was Elden Ring.
That's kind of even worse,
Elden Ring.
That's even tougher. Man, yeah. Boy, Elden Ring's one where I'm like, I could go back and just keep playing another 150 hours Elden Ring in an instant.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
That and it is so punishing in a way that, oh, well, I need to beat this now.
Right.
Versus Horizon, where very, very different game than Elden Ring, folks. But yeah, it doesn't have that carrot on the string to keep you playing if you're not already invested in the ecosystem of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the way it looked, and I think they did a good job, like making the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster feel like, oh, this looks worthy of a $10 upgrade. Something that I usually don't do, but just like sitting back watching the video, it was easy to be like, yeah, I could see myself spending $10 on it if I were getting into playing the game and enjoying myself. So yeah, cool. I just, of course, I wish it's like, man, if Sony had like one other game to go along with some of these remasters beyond the promise of Ghost of Yotei next year, might be a little bit easier to be like, oh, who cares about remasters? It's nice they're doing that, but I'm going to be playing all these new things. And it's just, they have had such a dearth of those kinds of announcements recently that it's easy to get angry at so many remasters, I think, for so many people.
I was hoping to hear an engine rev.
Of course, at any time. We should have that sound effect ready to go anytime Sony shows anything now. Yeah, Days of Gone remaster wasn't there, but they definitely are working on that, everybody. So get ready for it next time. Okay, new poll question. Will you check out Star Wars Outlaws this holiday? Yes. Yes, if it gets big updates. Yes, if it gets big updates and a $40 price. And no. So, yeah, vote on that. We'll get the results. Talk about it on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Jan, what do we have going on?
Game Mess Mornings popping off tomorrow, as well as a Makeup Blight Club. Hopefully, folks, we're going to see if everyone is ready to go tomorrow. That is going to take place instead of UPF. Today, we got the voicemail dump truck popping off. We're going to listen to all of your lovely calls, and we're not going to process any problems happening in our personal lives, folks. I promise.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. We might perhaps check out Frostpunk 2 later today, or Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah, let me see him. I might just do Echoes of Wisdom. Feels like that might be the move here. But I still will play Frostpunk 2 on this website at some point. Let's do that in an hour, everybody. So check back in with me at 1 p.m. And then I'm just doing some math here. Yep, that should be good.
Yeah, and then we're going to try to have a BCR tomorrow. We'll try and have a BCR tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll
just
probably
a quick up the top of the week.
Yeah, we'll talk about Zelda real quick, talk about a few other things, and then pop off the week. There we go. All right, Jan Ochoa, anything you want to tell people about where they could find you? Oh, where can they find that PS5 Pro stuff that you did?
Go to GameSpot's YouTube and check that thing out. Grubb, the thing that hurts the most is that the 30th anniversary collection PS5 Pro. It is legitimately gorgeous.
They should make them then. I don't know. I mean, it's weird that it doesn't exist. So that's bizarre
Grubb,
that they would just show you something that's not real.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, Grubb.
Yeah,
they have more than 12,000. Okay, they have more than 12,000 because the models that were there at Sony, they were all labeled 000 instead of a numbered one, because they have a bunch of ones that they've just been using for like demos.
They're all 000 because there's nothing. They don't exist. They're not real. Just like the number 0.
Damn.
Just like the color gray. Just like the color gray.
Full circle, baby.
There it is.
Come on, take us out.
Let's get out of here, everybody. Thank you, Jan and Joe, so much for talking about video games with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself. And goodbye. Buzzball it up. And get fucked, Sony. Clear on